Hi, I'm Liz Larson, back with some cake decorating basics. I am really excited about today's topic because I get to talk to not only the home decorator, but the commercial decorator. So we're going to talk about stencils and how to use stencils on all your decorating designs. So one of the reasons I'm so excited about this is that stencils are a way to make beautiful, really quick cakes. As a commercial cake decorator, sometimes you're working out 40 cakes a day. That's a lot, and that's a lot of design. They each need to be unique and special and beautiful. So stencils really allow us to do that. I'm holding here a stencil that's actually made out of some plastic. If you want to make your own stencils, you can buy easily at the craft store some of this. It's called clear plastic template. And you can use a sharp blade to cut it, or there is a stencil cutting tool, but this is quite easy to use. Another way to use stencils that's very inexpensive is parchment. As you can see, I've just traced a stencil, but you'd have to come up with some of your own designs. And you just cut that out and you can use parchment. This is a one-time use. This one you can use over and over again. This one's probably for the home decorator. Commercial decorators, get yourself some of these. Also, today I'm going to be using a silk screen. You don't need a silk screen for every one of these projects, but I'm using it today because I'm using it on whip topping. I don't want my stencils to stick, and I don't want it to ruin the top of my nicely iced cake. So this is a silk screen. You can get these at most art supply stores, or you could also just use some tulle, which is netting. You can buy a really fine tulle at any fabric store. Or if you're using buttercream and it's dried just a little bit, you don't need anything. No silk screen and no netting. So for those of you who have watched a lot of my videos, you know that a lot of times I teach step by step. Today we're going to use just a little bit of a different format because mostly I want to show you how to use the stencil in this design. The design that follows, I'm going to be using sunflowers, which we showed on another video in depth. It's the sunflower wedding cake video. Also, you can watch our borders video to see how to use some of the borders that I'm using today. This design is kind of special. It's for our YouTube friend, Anita. Hey Anita, let's get started. So like I said, I'm using my silk screen. I've just set it on top of my cake very lightly, and I'm going to position my stencil. Another nice thing about using a silk screen, if you're using a delicate icing, is that you can move the stencil around quite freely. You want to get it centered so it's nice and even all the way around. Another thing why I'm so excited about this for home decorators and commercial decorators is today I'm going to use the airbrush. I could also use the stencil just by tracing around it, which is a great tool, but today I want to show you how to use the airbrush. For home decorators who don't have an airbrush, there are also these nice Wilton color mists. I think Cake Boss has some too. But these are great, and this gives you the opportunity to try using stencils and mists without actually the expense of an airbrush. So I'm getting ready to fire up my airbrush, and I'm using a liquid food coloring here. This one happens to be Pastry Chef, but there's lots of brands that Wilton has some, but you want a liquid food coloring for your airbrush. So my airbrush happens to be a copy cake, but cake decorating airbrushes are all over the place. Just look online for cake decorating airbrush. They're inexpensive these days. The compressor is a little more expensive, not too bad though. For under 150 bucks, you can get yourself a whole setup like this. I highly recommend it if you're going to be doing a lot of decorating. So let me get started here. So I have to compete with the airbrush a little bit, but for using a stencil, there's a million ways to do it. I'm going to start with going just lightly around the outside of my stencil. This is one way. Oops, I blew it away. So mainly what I'm trying to do here is just establish the shape lightly. I'm going to go ahead and use borders around it. So I want to show you that. Just an intense color around. But for this particular design, I want a light spray over the whole outside of the cake. So it's just a light back and forth, really even. Just like when we're decorating an even pressure, we use just a really even spray. This is another problem with using the silk screen, is it really doesn't stick at all. That's okay, and you can see that with a stencil we really don't have to be too precise, but we do want a nice even. I also think that here I want to shade out just a little bit, so I'm going to blend in just a little bit more around the outside. Again, a lot of this will be covered, so you don't have to worry about being too precise. You're mainly using it as a guideline. And that's what that looks like. Let's pull off our silk screen very gently, and you can see there's really no icing on the silk screen. Now I want to show you how to get a light color around the base of your cake. This really grounds your cake, brings the eye down, and it blends the bottom of your cake in with the top. It's a really even spray, and you can see I'm really about maybe 6 inches away. Really important. I can get in and do very close-up work if I wish, but for here we want a nice even spray. And you can see I'm giving it quite a bit of color. This is also going to be covered with a border, and so I just want a little peekaboo color there. We're ready to start our design here. Before I do, I just wanted to point out, and I'm sure you noticed, that you always put your stencils on and do your airbrushing before you put any of your borders on. So this design has some Corneli lace, and I'm just embellishing out around the outside of the stencil. You can see how quick this is for you commercial cake decorators. I just want a real light, lacy design. This design in particular for Anita is going with a wedding cake, so we're making it a little bit fancy. But even for in the shop, you can see how quick and easy it is to add just a little bit of lace embellishment. One more layer. That's pretty and easy, and I'm just doing it with my parchment bag. Okay, next layer. You commercial cake decorators and home decorators will appreciate this. I'm just going to cut the end of that parchment open just a little bit farther, and I am going to create a braid, just a double straight shell around the edge of my stencil. And you can see here how my stencil really guides what I'm doing here, my design. Remember always to be pulling towards yourself, never pushing against. So that means moving your turntable to get the angle that you want. Your turntable is your friend. And just follow along your stencil edge. And you can work inside or outside your stencil edge. Either way, whatever suits your purpose. I'm going to actually come around the other direction here, so that my hearts have little points on them. You can go all one direction or 2 directions. For this design, it's all up to you. I like to use the 2 directions with the heart cake always. You could do this with an E-motion, a reverse shell, however you want. Okay, and quickly, I have 2 layers of my design. Third, I'm going to come in with my number 23 tip in my bag here, and I'm going to continue with my braid around the outside. These are just double straight shells. If you want to see how to do this, watch our video on borders. So I'm going to continue on the side here, and I'm going to continue with my straight shell braid. Just a little alternative here. A straight shell this way and then up. Come back on the tail. Remember, decorators, your borders get really their shape from your pressure control. It's a squeeze and release, a squeeze and release, a squeeze and release. You need those nice thin tails. And I'll continue on around my cake. And you can see that what this does is it fills in half the side of your cake. So with this, it's not even necessary to put another layer of border there. You've got a lot of detail with just your airbrush and your border. Of course, I always think more is more, so you could put one more layer of detail on above it if you wish. So for your commercial decorators, you're going to have to put a border on anyway. It might as well be a pretty one, and if it takes up a good portion of the side of your cake, that's just another bonus. So for you commercial decorators, and in this case as well as the home decorators, you can go ahead and lay out this design in advance. Don't feel bad about drawing it out first to get your flower placement right. Commercial cake decorators, this is just as fast putting all these sunflowers on as it is putting on roses. So let's get started. These are going to be in the corners. So you can mark this out in advance. I'm going to mark it out now. I'm going to put my sunflowers here in the corners. So I just want to basically lay out the bottom of that design. Also, I want to point out that it is okay to decorate over your borders. In fact, it's a good thing. I'm going to start with leaves. With this design, the leaves go down first. Remember, you can see this whole flower done in detail on the wedding cake. So for beginners as well as advanced, you usually put down your leaves first. And it's best to do, if you're working with leaves, do them all at one time. That way you're not picking up your bag and putting it down again. It's a real time saver. You can see here that I'm going up just over the edge of my borders here. Don't be afraid to cover them up a little bit. I'm going to come back in with my yellow. This is a great petal to learn. You can use it for all kinds of things. You saw me use it for the leaves and the sunflowers here, as well as stargazer lilies. It's the basis for poinsettias. You can see that I've not only gone over my border, but I'm also going over my leaf, which is a good thing. Moving very quickly, I'm going to go right over the edge of this border. Really pulls it all together. So we didn't talk about filling the bag because we're trying to save a little time here, but for my flowers, I always really undermix my colors so I get some striping, and then I usually stripe with the darker color, the heavier color, and fill the bag with a lighter color or just the white. I want a lot of variegation. Now, home decorators, you can take this a lot more slowly, but I'm doing it quickly. I want to show our pros out there that they can do elaborate flowers without taking a lot of time. Your clients will be really, really impressed, and you really haven't done that much more work. Let's get our seeds filled in. The seeds are done with a leaf tip, number 352, I believe. They are striped with a little black, light gray, and brown. And I like to put them in going all one direction. That way it really shows off that color variegation. And you can adjust these. You can use all black. So now you can see you've got all your beautiful flowers here, your several layers of borders. It just took us a couple of minutes. So Anita, for your wedding, you would just put the couple's name here and the date here, and I would do that in white. It's really pretty that way. But for those pros out there, people want to use this as a birthday cake, let's fill it in that way. What I do is I like to use a diagonal. Nice, tall, narrow letters. And I'm really going to fill this space in. With my tall, narrow letters, I can get quite a bit in a small space. Don't forget to make them pretty. And then let's go ahead and put the person's name on this side. A little larger. Fill up the space. And there you go. So I hope you guys had a good time learning how to use stencils. It's really one of my favorite design techniques, and it adds so much to your decorating. I really hope you give it a try. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, you can ask me any kind of questions you want. I'll answer. See you next time. Thanks for watching.